Well, thanks for tuning in to the next part in our Kirby restoration series. And you can see I'm just finished polishing. I'm using a little bit of alcohol to pull off the last of the rouge, just to dissolve what rouge I had. That's why I still have a glove on here, because there's so much on here. You can just see the nastiness. So let's see what she looks like now that I've let's do that. Fully polished the Kirby handle as much as it's going to get polished. And I didn't put this part in the dishwasher because I didn't want to damage the sticker. So we need to clean that off. The best we can without damaging it. And the sticker is not flat, it's got like this texture to it, so you can see I'm just going to take a toothbrush real quick. And, ooh. Well, that's as good as that's going to be right now. So that's the handle, and I did behind the scenes, I tightened these screws and did some stuff. So we're going to put this guy together in here, and if you don't know, these have a plastic screw. And the reason this has this quick release screw is this hole right here is a piggy bank. So the idea is the coins you'd find on the ground, instead of sucking them up with your Kirby, you put in that to help pay off your Kirby, or save up for your next Kirby, depending on who you ask about that. And some of this is just discolored beyond belief. Like that, that's just permanent. That could probably use a trip to the retro brighter. I wish Mr. Hooverlux was over here to do that for me. He does good retro brighting for both him and Sam. Do excellent retro bright work. Put this screw on here. And when you do this, this is one of those times where you really need the proper size screwdriver. Using a number 2 Phillips is a no-no. You want to use a number 3 Phillips on here. Make sure everything's lined up.
Can your vacuum do this? How about this? Probably not. That's why you're watching this video, because your vacuum isn't doing this. Well, if you're looking for a straightforward, easy to use, and powerful vacuum cleaner, you should check out my video on the Zero G. It's one of the best values on the market. The Zero G is also very durable. It glides effortlessly, moving on a cushion of air. Check out my review in the card above.
Okay, there we go. You don't want to over tighten it because we are going into aluminum. So that's the handle. We're going to set that just aside, and we're going to focus on the yoke now, which is why we're all over here. The handle yoke. Actually, we'll set our box of Kirby parts aside here for now. The handle yoke, I ordered an old one, or a newer style, and rebuilt the old one. I've got videos and stuff on that on Instagram. If you don't follow us on Instagram, definitely check us out on Instagram. And if you're not on Instagram, it's an interesting little community. All right, so I've got this. I also, behind the scenes, I bead blasted these and polished the insides of them so that this moves extra smooth. Now, you'll notice there's something missing here from this. The hole in the castings here, but it's not on here. There is no, on this particular Kirby, it did not have, there's the thing I wanted. It did not have, it has the wedge, but it does not have the little spring that goes in here this is before that little spring. Kind of an interesting thing. Now, somebody was telling me they like to use oil on this for the ball bearings. I actually think grease is a little bit nicer. Your discretion on that, what you want to do with this. But as I put this together, I'm going to show you exactly how much grease I put on. Not very much. Nice combo of grease and oil. Because this metal is supposed to absorb oil, but I think it's probably impregnated the most it can be. It's just a little bit of grease. You don't want a lot. This will just help it glide a little bit smoother on there. And we're going to put this back. It doesn't really matter which side you put back. It's these two blocks are the same. So we're going to put these in, and we're going to line everything up. And again, this is usually where you would line that extra spring that's on some of the machines up. And this is, again, before all of that on there. And I've got these long black screws that were in here, which are they also seem smaller than the newer Torx screws as well. So as we put the yoke together, and this is where the drill comes in handy. We're going to put all these on the lowest torque setting on the drill, just real quick. And that's buttery smooth. Now we got to put our friction wedge in. And again, these screws are just slightly different than what they use now. They went to a hex system, which is absolutely fine on some of these. But as we tighten this up. Now the other thing I'm going to do real quick is the bearing race, if we could call it that, or whatever the bearing holders. We just want to line those up so it's in the middle. Now, again, you can see how they cheapened and just went to a stamp piece. And this actually makes a whole lot more sense how that's made than this extra rivet that was made on here. And when you have the rivet on there, just a wee bit of grease. You don't want that to get anywhere in the motor or fall off, but that will take any squeaking off that. Again, the correlation between a lot of the bicycle stuff and this are just crazy. All right, and again, you need the right size screwdriver for this. And you can see the size of the screw head here if we zoom in. Zoom in, really give you guys a close-up. But you can see the screw head compared to a normal screw head right there. You can just see the screwdriver size and difference. So that actually makes a bit of sense in terms of how much torque and stuff's on these, but again, something. You can Loctite these. It's not super necessary, but you can. So that's in neutral. We're pretty much in the center. Again, with this being my machine that I'm doing a full restore on, it's getting a little bit more treatment probably than I'd give a customer's machine. Torque those, and we'll recheck that. We'll revisit that torque here in a minute. Again, lining up the races. So now, with this, we're going to just loosen these and start to put a little bit of tension on this. We want to take the side-to-side play out is where we're looking to put the tension on, and I'm gonna. Ooh, those could really go in there. All right, now that I've We need a little bit more. That's perfect. So now we could actually torque that down with the drill if we wanted to. Wow. That just fell over. You can see how much torque these things actually can do. That is, make sure all this is realigned, torqued up. Now that all that's done, now we can double check the torque on the middle screws. There we go. It's actually easier to do that out of that, but so we now have that yoke completely rebuilt, ready to go. Man, is that nice. And we're going to put the cover. Now, for some reason, these just came off. I think on the newer ones, these are a slightly harder material. Let's zoom out so you can see what I'm doing. So I think that is just something to keep in mind there. Yeah, those just do not want to line up. Those are like mushy, mushy, mushy. And before we put those in, we're going to put these guys on. Again, these are just the cover screws. As I said before, the unnecessary use of some of the materials here, like this cover doesn't need to be aluminum. There's no reason for that. But it is. And again, you see these just from the heat and the years, these rubber bumpers do not want to settle where they want to be, where they should be. So as I install this, I'll be holding them in place and putting them on. And that ought to clamp them into place just fine. But again, the cover is just a little bit out of whack. You know, and I think when I polished this, I over-polished a lot of these pieces. There's some stuff on here that does not need to be polished at all that I polished. Like this. This will never, ever be seen. Yeah, we gotta move that aside. Let's use the power of the drill. And that helped align the bumper, that just that extra speed from the drill. And as we put this on, and this cover did take a ride in the dishwasher. You'll notice this cover is a different shape than modern Kirby's, and that's because the yoke lock is completely different, which I have right here. And I took great effort to try to restore this and keep its original yoke lock, which controls just how far back this can go and stuff. So in that, when you move this, it's on this axis, and that actually could use a drop of oil because that is press fitted. There we go. That's better. That will, oh, that's so much better. And crazy that that's like that. All right. Now you see, we're going to wipe down the final bit of chrome with a little bit of Windex. I guess it's not chrome, it's aluminum. But aluminum likes Windex. They seem to be best buddies. Note about Kirby cords. Originally, on the generation, there's no hole here at all. That's because the cord didn't screw in. There was like this little accordion plug that would have been on the end. Now the cord I have is not the original cord. We know the machine got a new fan in '95, but at some point somebody put a Generation 3 cord on, which doesn't have that extra holder here, but does have the part for the clip. So this is like an in-between from when they made the final cord to their newest cord. that was on here, but not the original cord. So little interesting piece of Kirby history. And you can see mine is properly yellowed. I'm really worried when I plug this in at some point that this could catch fire, like a lot of these old ones do. So this is going to be loose here under there, if you were wondering. And then there's one more screw, which is the same screw that holds these on, that goes here. It's not different like it is on the newer Kirbys. They actually made this a, it's like a T10 on the newer Kirbys, or T15. It's its own size. It's the only thing on the Kirby that's that size. This one's actually interchangeable with some of the other screws. Now, if I could find the hole's actually much further forward than I thought. Old boss once told me, if you have trouble finding the hole, try spitting. Can I say that on YouTube? So this has the clear emptier, and I couldn't get this part clean, but it's, you know, it's good enough for what we need. I am just going to, real quick, remove some of these paint scratches. I don't do this earlier, because when I put this part in the dishwasher, you never know what the dishwasher is going to remove. So I like to just let the machine do the work, then come back and clean it up afterwards. Oh, that's probably about the best it's going to be. I see some people use steel wool on this. It's a little too aggressive in terms of getting this off. But I will say a little bit of pledge helps shine that up as well. So, and a little bit of pledge around this gasket on any Kirby is always a good thing. So we're going to do that on here. Clip that on. I am going to run the newer style HEPA bags, of course, and we'll bring the camera up for you. So I have sealed this up and washed this, but we're going to put this on. Again, this was made with 1-layer paper bags originally. So now we've upgraded its filtration, genuine Kirby filtration. Starting to look good. Let's take a look at the bottom real quick here. Notice there's this extra pleat. It has this really weird fold over here, and that was only on the original Generation 3s. I always thought that was a little bit weird. And one thing with the base plates is they get scratched up over time. I've polished them before and stuff, but I really just find that a little bit of steel wool, just rubbing it back and forth for a while, makes it as smooth as that needs to be. As you can see, this is nice and clean inside. We have our guide to show us where to set it. So we're going to, it's like a new brush roller. I'm going to set it on number 1. 1. And keep in mind that Kirby G3 brush rollers and G4 brush rollers are different than the newer Kirby. They moved this side with the LED. Or they moved the end caps shape. They're different. They don't actually interchange easily. You can change the end caps and pull some bristles out to make one work, but typically, there we go. That all snaps on there. Ooh, a little bit of belt tension there. Just because it's been sitting in my shop here for a little bit, we're gonna wipe her down, make sure she's nice and clean. Oh, she looks good. She looks really good. Not bad for 30 years old. Maybe not the cleanest restore I've ever done, but certainly not bad. Now, here's the crazy thing about all this. I haven't plugged it in yet. I don't even know if the motor runs. I just kind of assumed it being a Kirby it would run. All right, so I need a light bulb, which I suspected would. Now off camera, I did put a pinstripe on there and put a new Tech Drive logo that I was able to find on eBay. So That I did do off camera. But let's turn it on now that I've plugged in the internal light. Ooh. That runs smooth. I also readjusted the transmission off camera. That's a whole complicated thing I'm not going to go into. 90% of machines don't need that done ever. So yeah, I'm kind of disappointed in my polish job, but everything else came out well. And considering this was a $25 Kirby that came with everything but the shampooer that's 30 years old and works just fine, I think it looks good. So give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe, take a look on Instagram if you want to see stuff as it's happening, and if you really love what we're doing, share, thumbs up, support the channel. I have links to bags and supplies in the description, and consider joining our Patreon.